Tsunami! Tsunami! You might wonder why I'm doing this. Well, the reason I've randomly got a wooden spoon and a drum in my hand is because earlier in the week there was a Newcastle United Matchday Atmosphere workshop. Try and say those words without cringing through your teeth. I was one of the lucky people who was invited along to give my thoughts, and I'm going to be telling you on this video what things were talked about, what things I think are actually going to happen, and what things maybe split opinion in the room a little bit. No prizes for guessing what I'm talking about there. It's all coming up, Newcastle fans, so do us a favour if you're curious, and make sure you stick around for a bit of black and white banter. Now the wind, Gordon, makes the jolly sing, Gordon, we're all going to Madrid. Hey, I'm starting to get a bit used to this. Right, anyway, less of that. Less of one in my hand. Welcome back to Black White Banter, Newcastle fans. I hope all is well. I'm not going to say I hope you're having a good week, because not only were Newcastle United absolutely awful at Chelsea on Monday, if you haven't watched my instant match reaction, luckily I wasn't on the bus going down there. God, that's the only saving grace. One of the more recent matches that I've missed was one of the ones I was very glad I didn't ruin my bank balance, my sleeping pattern, you name it, and sorry for anyone who did have to travel down for that. Wasn't good enough. Haven't done a video on it since, just because my working week, with it being a certain sports festival all week this week, has swept me from under my feet. Haven't had a chance. But one thing I do want to do a video on is something I got invited to earlier in the week, and I want to give you all the juicy inside information. But before I get into that, Newcastle fans, do me a little favour. You know what to do by now if you've seen any of my videos. Give me a little likey, loo. That goes a very, very long way. It just helps this video maybe go to more people, and I think this video a lot of people might find interesting, so help me out on that one. And if you like my opinion by the end of this, whack that subscribe. But I want you to press that like button now. Do it now. Yes, hasn't been a good week. Manchester City on the cup on Saturday. I'll do a video on that. Lovely jubbly, Manchester City. But we did get some good news. Anthony Gordon, his injury is not as bad as first thought, and it looks like he might get in the England squad. And I think we all reacted like this. Yeah, that's what we're working with, literally celebrating a player coming back from injury that we thought was bad, but isn't that bad. Feels like a cup final win. That's how important that beautiful Scouser has been for us. So yeah, on Tuesday, there was a very intimate affair at St James's Park in the Moncur suite, and you were able to, a lot of people watching this video might have stuck their names in the hat. You were able to apply in a ballot, and random people were selected. I don't know how random it was. Obviously, from what I saw, they were trying to pick certain ages and different demographics, so they were selecting people. I don't think it was random. And I've been rejected for a couple of ticket ones, and I was finally accepted for this one. So, of course, I obliged, and I went along. It was a total mix of season ticket holders, members, older, younger. There was people on a video call who were invited that way from different parts of I'm assuming different parts of the world and maybe the country. So there was lots of different people in the room, which was good. Lots of different demographics. And every person was put on a different table as a group with a member of staff from the club sat with you. They were writing your ideas down on 3 different questions. I got a good group of people. I would not shut up, so if any of them are randomly watching this video, I apologise. I just had that many ideas that I was given through Facebook followers and my own ideas on what could work and what might not, and it was just lots of this, and it was good. It was good. Lots of different opinions, which I'll get onto, and then everyone's opinions on 3 different questions were discussed in the wider room on a microphone, and there was lots of the same points made time and time again. Some not so much, and some that, of course, split the room. So let's dive into it. I'm first going to talk about some of the I'm going to break this video down because I could go on all night about what was talked about across the 2 hours that it took for the event. I will talk about things that were unanimously agreed that I think will happen. They will happen because everybody in the room agreed, and it was focused around the questions. Things that split opinion, and things for me that I don't want to see changed, that I think might happen because I'm maybe the small minority. And of course, I want your opinions in the comments on all that I tell you about on this video. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first question was a lot more general. The first question on the board for us all to discuss was how can we make what is already one of the best atmospheres in the Premier League even better at St James's Park. So this was the big chat. This was the big question. Now, the unanimous ones that came back from that, I mean that was the whole point of the workshop around question number one, really. And the other ones were a bit more specific and a lot faster to answer. The first one that was unanimously agreed, which was actually another question on the board, and I'll share all the photos of the questions and whatnot on the screen. Safe standing and singing corners, if you like. Now, safe standing being expanded was one of the questions. That was a unanimous yes around the room. I'm lucky enough to be in safe standing. I was very much on the fence when it came in because I thought they were trying to replicate an away atmosphere at a home match, and I thought that would never work in a million years. And also, maybe I'm getting a little bit older. I don't mind sitting down at home games when the match is a bit calmer. It's not like an away game when you're 8 pints deep. But it was a unanimous yes, so I would fully expect safe standing to be branched out at St James's Park. That won't be next season. It would probably potentially be the season after, which would be the 25-26. Jesus Christ, that scares me. The 25-26 season would maybe be the earliest. Now, the bigger talking point, where? Now, there was a couple of ideas floated around on safe standing. The one I liked the best was all four corners of the lower tier to generate the same noise the Strawberry Corner makes, which is the main place in St James's for atmosphere, but keeping in all four corners. I think that's a fantastic idea. Then chants would reverberate around the stadium. If that's possible, love it, love it, love it. The second one, which is going back in the time machine to pre-Ashley days, was back in level 7 next to the away fans. Now, anyone who might have sat there like I did, that's where the singing corner was. We were next to the away fans. You have that banter like you do when you're an away fan. When I travel away with the people next to you, if you're winning, you give it a bit of that. If you're losing, you want to curl up in a ball and die. It was great. And then Mike Ashley decides to make the part of the stadium where you will get the most abuse from people nearby the family end. I know the view's the worst, so the tickets are cheaper. Did not make any sense, and we all agreed to move on a Facebook group to the Strawberry Corner, and that's why that's the singing end now. So there's lots of talk about moving level 7. Now, I'm not so much for that from a selfish point of view, because I love my seat. I love the Strawberry Corner being the singing corner. I've got a fantastic view looking out on the Gallagher. To then go to level 7 where my long distance eyesight's not great anyway, I would struggle to make that decision to move high. I really would. I want a good view. I want to be close to the action like I am. And I've never wanted to sit anywhere else. But I totally understand that argument. So that was the point. But mainly, expect safe standing to come in. Now, on the back of that, everyone agreed that a singing corner, actually called a singing end, should be something that St James's Park takes on. So you go to buy a ticket if you're one of the ones who goes through the ballot for home matches. You would be able to pick a singing section so that you are fully aware where you are standing or sitting. You are expected to have lots of people around you making lots of noise. And you should also be contributing to that because you've chosen that end. So then no people... I've sat in the East Stand before where I've got up and shouted and maybe been a bit aggressive in jumping up and shouting something onto the pitch and chanting and whatnot. You get looked at from quarters of the stadium like you've got two heads, and that's fine. We all pay our money. If you're a bit more passive when you go to the game and just want to sit and watch the match, that's fine. People, not everyone likes to sing. People are shy. People have really bad voices. But a singing corner, I think, makes the most sense. So that's another one that was unanimous. The other big one that was unanimous was matchday music. It's been the same playlist, pre-match, half-time, for God knows how long. Everyone agreed that needed looking at. Some people talked about it being a little bit more cultural, so lots of Newcastle songs. I'm on the fence with that because most Newcastle songs are very tame in nature, very almost mellow to the point where you're not going to really be up for the match. You're going to be up for phoning your Geordie Nana and telling her how much you love her. So I think there needs to be a balance there. You've got a mix of ages in the stadium. It's got to be upbeat. Like for me, AC/DC hits the spot every time. Whole lot of Rosie. Thunderstruck. When Thunderstruck used to be played just before Local Hero, just before, I loved it. And they stopped that in 2008. And me and my mate, as cringy as this sounds, when we were in school and thought we were cool, we wrote a petition. Aaron, if you're watching this, we wrote a petition to try and get Thunderstruck back, and it never happened. So I think you've got to get a mix, but I expect music to change based off this workshop. The next big one was entertainment. There is nothing pre-match, nothing at half-time. Birthday announcements, everybody agreed to scrap them. We do not want to hear at half-time about Barbara's 40th, lots of love from Auntie Karen. We don't. It should go on the screen. Stick it on the screen. Stick it in the programme. We don't want to hear 150 birthdays getting rhymed off. There is nothing, and there's a gap there. And I think Newcastle are keen to find out how to get fans in the stadium earlier. That's a really difficult bridge to cross because we are unique, and what makes us great is that we are one of the only stadiums that has like 1,000 bars within a 5 or 10 minute walk. To get in the stadium earlier for a plastic cup, overpriced pint, something has to be great, and I think that's a really difficult bridge for the club to overcome. You'd have to get a band or some entertainment, maybe like a Rob Lee to talk on the pitch. I don't know, but to get people in early, also drink prices, they came down at the start of the season with promotions, buy one, get one free. They've now gone back up. There's just not much appeal there, and that's maybe what they might have to bite the bullet and just accept, because we are unique as long as we don't move in what we have close. And I want to be in the pubs. I want to be, being in the stadium an hour early is not the British culture. It doesn't really interest me. But half-time entertainment will be getting cranked up a notch, that's without a doubt. One of the biggest things that was unanimously agreed. So those were the three main points that I would say everybody in the room wrote down, but also everybody in the room agreed with. So let's move on to the ones that were a little bit more in the middle, that split the room. Yeah, you guessed it. Drum. There was talk about drum, and I probably didn't come across great on my table because I'm passionate about my football club, and I'm also passionate about the things I never want to see inside St James's Park as long as I am on this earth with air in my lungs and sat in my seat near the Gallagher, and that is a drum. I've been to European matches. I understand that it almost naturally makes people continue singing when that noise is getting banged, but I hate it. I do. I really, really do. And it did split the room. And what I felt was it was more no than yes. I think there was 2 tables said that they would quite like it. Trialled, no. And I think the club have got to be so careful to not make decisions that are splitting rooms. And that's why I personally think from that workshop, if these workshops are taken properly on board, then that would be something they wouldn't dare touch. There was one gentleman on my table who said he was for it. Why not? It works in Europe. Dortmund came and brought one, and that helped them make noise for the full 90 minutes. Yeah, but it also did everyone's head in St James's. Not because we lost the match, but just because of that constant noise. That's not Newcastle fans to me, banging a drum for 90 minutes. It's not. The other one was a pyro light show. Now, very recently I've witnessed one at Aston Villa when we beat them 3-1. Just before the match, everyone used the phones with an app to create a light show. No. And that, again, was probably just a small minority liked it. I think, again, there might have been 2 tables max that liked it. I'm not saying I'm against maybe a special occasion sort of show. So, for example, if Newcastle are playing a cup semi-final like we did against Southampton last year, Southampton, in the second leg of the Carabao, put something on. This is different. This is big. But I think it's such a manufactured fake where it's not fans making the atmosphere there, and that's what Newcastle are known for, passionate fan base. You are asking the atmosphere to be built by some lights and some fire, and I don't like the ones I've seen. I don't like the way Wolves do it. with like a dancey techno track with lots going on. I didn't like Aston Villa's. It's a no from me. And that was another one that really, really sort of split the room. I guess what I'll put into this category as well is other things that were talked about, because you're going to be wondering, well, it can't just have been that in 2 hours. There was lots of things. Now, for me, this isn't the split the room category. I'm just going to make that clear. This was some of the things that I picked up and heard. The PA system is not loud enough. We can't hear what's being said. Totally agree with that. I think the PA guy, based off this workshop, might have to start looking for another job. Maybe Sunderland are taking on. He didn't get the best feedback in terms of his energy, and I know we've had the same one for so many years, and maybe that's part of the problem. I suggested PA interaction. I quite like how some clubs will get fans to finish the name of the end of players, maybe start a chant, I went and then get the rest of the crowd to sing Blade and Races. Why? These things can't do any harm, and I don't think anyone was passionately for, no one was passionately against. Just try it. Why not? I talked about the gentleman years ago who sang the Blade and Races. He was almost like an opera singer before the derby in 2016. I loved that. I got goosebumps on the back of my neck because everybody in the stadium sang along. Or for bringing in local musicians to get on the pitch and get us really riled up for the match, I'm all for it. There was a lot of ones that went down a bit of a rabbit hole which I didn't agree with. There wasn't so much atmosphere. We ended up talking about match day experience. So people were talking about how long it takes to get a pint. Yeah, you miss 5 minutes. Personally, I don't think that's a big talking point for what's going to change the atmosphere if people don't have to go down on 41 minutes to get a beer. No, don't agree with that. There was lots of, can we order drinks from our app? Can we do this? That's not going to improve atmosphere. And I think a lot of fans in the room, it naturally just went that way in discussion, started suggesting things that I personally don't think needed suggesting because it's a match day atmosphere workshop, kind of clues in the title, but the club still took it all on board. What else was talked about that more generally? More screens. We only have the one, and now VAR plays such a big part, but also in terms of that entertainment, being able to watch things, we need more. And I prefer. I liked it when Newcastle were a stadium without screens, but VAR I think requires one just by sort of like I don't know what the FA regulations are, but more of that. Obviously, I touched on halftime entertainment. It's so difficult to remember because there were so many points. I wrote as many down on my phone as I was listening as possible. More interaction with the fans, so that entertainment maybe including fan cams, which I like the thought of. Fans coming onto the pitch and being able to be involved more in like the game side. I'm all for anything that involves the people who are the heartbeat of the football club. I'm really for it. There was talk about war flags, maybe doing things a little bit earlier. There was talk about war flags, maybe doing things on a larger scale, which is all going to be dependent on donations. All things that fall under that category of why not? Let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. It's not dramatic. It's not drastic like drums or a pyro show. Let's see what we can do. Now, let's talk about the ones that I think I'm probably a small minority that I'm not for, but I'm quite passionate on this one. Now, one of the things talked about was Wi-Fi. Oh, God. Now, it's ironic that I'm doing this off this app, which is kind of part of my anti-argument. Now, Wi-Fi, you can get it at Man City, I believe. You can definitely get it at the Emirates. And yes, for me, to maybe check my phone and post a couple of things at half-time, that's all well and good when I'm at an away match. For St James's Park to suddenly get 50,000 people with full bars of Wi-Fi on their phone scares the absolute living daylights out of me. Do you know why? Because we live in an age now where Newcastle's tourist aspect is being talked about more and more because we have become a bigger club and we expected to keep becoming a bigger club with more people from Saudi and internationally who want to come and watch us. The thought of so many fans being on their phone, recording themselves live on TikTok, recording themselves live on YouTube, being on Snapchat, checking the Facebook feeds during games. We don't want to become that club that all have their phones out. I don't think we are that club. Of course, generations are changing and times are changing, and I understand that with the younger fan base. But putting Wi-Fi for the full 90 minutes in St James's, I just think is a very, very treacherous if you're talking about atmosphere, I think it has the opposite effect. It's not going to improve atmosphere. And someone on my TikTok video pointed out that we need it. We need better service when we're in that stadium for contacting friends and family, for checking bets. Some people put a lot of money on bets on a Saturday and they can't cash out because they're at the game. For checking scores, I think that there would have to be a system of allowing Wi-Fi before the start of the match and at half-time, and then Newcastle can probably argue that stops any illegal streaming of the game for them as well. Double-edged sword, but we have to be so careful. I like not having access to my phone full signal. During the game you can. If you're one of the only ones who quickly gets it out to check what the other Premier League scores are, then fine. But we have to be really careful on that one, and I know most fans will push for full Wi-Fi, and I'm not on that side of the fence. I want things to stay really authentic and not be a digital stadium, and that's what essentially it would become. That was the main one. I'm against the drums, I'm against the pyros, but generally speaking, that was a good workshop, and I met some lovely people. There was a lot of people with the same energy, the same ideas, and everybody in that room wants the same thing, to St James's Park to stay as one of the most passionate stadiums in the country, but we can all agree that it's a little bit flat this season. Yes, performances on the pitch aid that, of course they do. But I think corporate was a point that our table made, but it wasn't unanimously spoke about in the room, and I think that's because they don't want to offend, I guess. I don't know, I was surprised it never came up heavily. We are in a position where I've said previously, open and honestly on some videos, that the hospitality changes and the corporate side of things scares me. We have to be very careful, Maydad and Co., that they do not take out of this city what is one of the most unique things about this city, a working class fan base who are the most passionate in the country, in my opinion. We win, we all over the moon all week at work, dancing and singing. We lose and it ruins our week. It's not just the side thing, Newcastle, it's the heartbeat of everything we do. And I say that as someone who dedicates not only his time and money to his football team like we all do, but also a hell of a lot of time in making content like this, because it is the one thing in life that I feel so passionate about. And I just want to see things enhanced. I don't want to see things taken in too much of a different direction where we become this laughing stock that have drums and pyro shows where fans visit St James's and go, God, I remember what they used to be like. It's an interesting one though. Newcastle fans, I've probably missed a couple of points that were talked about in that workshop, but I've covered most there. The unanimous ones that I think will happen, the ones I think split the room that I'm not on board with, and just a talking point on something that I'm passionately against that I don't think many other people would be. Let me know your thoughts below. Maybe you were there, maybe I've missed something that you want to talk about in the comments, but let me know what you think would be the best way from all the things I've talked about of improving the atmosphere. Drop down in the comments below. I'll be doing a Manchester City preview in the next couple of days. Thank you very much for watching. The love for Black and White Bandit, as always, has been absolutely fantastic, as it always is, on different channels and whatnot. So thank you very much for that, and I'll see you for what is another mouth-watering game down at the Etihad. Keep the faith as always. How are you, lads?